Welcome in. It is Big Ten today. It is great to have you with us. Laboring on this Labor Day,
Absolutely.
Dave Revson and Howard Griffith. Pretty good week one for the Big Ten, 16-2, including one really high-profile win.
Really, a lot of impressive wins, a lot of young quarterbacks truly stepping up to show us the talent that they have. We're going to learn a lot more as the season goes on with some of these young quarterbacks, but they're certainly off to a great start.
Let's dive in, and let's do it with our big story. It is presented by Rally House, defending national champs. Ohio State taking down Texas 14-7, their 26th straight season-opening win, longest streak in the nation. Bucks got just enough offensively, rode a fabulous defensive effort, holding Texas to 1 of 5 on fourth down, keeping the Longhorns off the scoreboard on both their drives into the red zone. The win was OSU's 7th all-time against number 1, second under Ryan Day. The other came against Oregon in last year's Rose Bowl. It was their first in the regular season since topping Iowa in 1985. Now 6 straight wins for the Bucks against top 5 opponents, tying the all-time Big Ten record set by Michigan between 1995 and 2000. Howard, there is a ton to dissect here.
It really
in this game. So I will let you have the floor. Where do you want to start?
I would tell you that I would start with the defense,
Okay.
specifically Matt Patricia. And Dave, we talked last week about his scheme. Well, really it's about matchups, putting his players in position to take advantage of their opponent. And we saw that happen. Listen, you can make an argument that Texas fans are going to say they should have continued to run the ball because Ohio State was playing a lot of nickel and dime, 4 and 5, 6 DBs, and they should have been able to take advantage of it, but they weren't. They weren't able to do that because of the matchups. When you start to look at just what Arch Manning had the chance to look at, there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of uncertainty. We talked about that. He's the type of player that you cannot let get into a rhythm. And Ohio State defensively did not allow that to happen. It was really a clinic in how to shut down a young quarterback, or for that matter, any quarterback and an offensive coordinator that's not accustomed to seeing this as many types of body types that Ohio State can run at you in waves. It is truly amazing to see.
You said this on Saturday as we were dissecting and breaking this game down a little bit. You talked about Arch Manning not being comfortable throughout the game. I think there were some questions about Matt Patricia. I mean, the guy essentially has never coached in college, right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's an NFL guy. And there's so much scheming that goes on. I mean, again, look, there's tons of scheming that goes on in the pro game as well. But, you know, the college game can be different styles of offense. Some of that has bled into the NFL through the years. But you're going up against a guy in Steve Sarkisian who is famous for getting people off balance. But it felt like, you said, you used that term, uncomfortable. It felt like they made Arch Manning uncomfortable throughout the game. And it felt like the defense dictated rather than the offense dictating. How did Matt Patricia do that?
He took a guy like Arvell Reese. I'm telling you.
Who's a physical specimen.
I don't think that there are any linebackers in the country that look like he looks, right? And then you start to couple that with just the players that they have on that roster right now. You were able to take him and put him at the line of scrimmage, right? And put a hand in the dirt. You didn't know whether he was coming, dropping. They started to move so many pieces around. Normally people that you would see at safety or corner were now playing safety. Corners were up on the line of scrimmage. There were so many different looks. So from a young quarterback, or forget young quarterback and offensive coordinators always talk about, okay, we're looking for number 2. He's going to be the Mike linebacker, or number 5 is your strong safety. Where are they? Trying to recognize where they are so they can shift protections to those different directions. They couldn't do that against Ohio State. They had no chance to get it. They're just so physical. And then we made the comment about what they were able to do at the line of scrimmage, particularly goal line. When you have a team that is as fast as Ohio State and as talented in a compressed space, you can go back to last year and see the tape. And it's just not what they did against Texas, but against anyone in a goal line situation. It's very hard to try to stop those guys from being able to make plays and being able to redirect, and also just being able to diagnose what they're doing to them. They're so physical and so fast. That's why I talked about it's about matchups, not so much scheme. He has pieces and chess pieces that he can move around and put in places that an offensive line's not necessarily looking for him to be. And the next thing you know, bam, he's by him. And we saw that a lot with this offensive line. And this is a talented group at Texas.
Yeah.
And this is why I go back to this. This is a good, really good Texas football team. But they were made to look average from an offensive standpoint because of some of the things in the matchups that they weren't prepared to handle.
And it was the place where the chips were down, right? Texas 1 of 5 on fourth down, 0 of 2 in the red zone. So Ohio State able to get it done on the defensive side. Let's talk about the offense. I mean, Julian saying, you complimented all week. We were talking about how good Texas's defense is, and if there was kind of one known commodity, it was that Texas defensive front. Ohio State gave up 1 tackle for loss. They really neutralized them. Julian saying no one turned it over. Not only did he not turn it over, no one turned it over for Ohio State, which is hard to do against a team like Texas that forced a ton of turnovers last year. It was one of the top teams in the nation in terms of sacks. What did you make? I know the numbers weren't great. I mean, in fact, they were very pedestrian when you look at the total yards, just over 200 yards for Ohio State. They didn't run it great. Maybe we can talk about that in a moment. But what did you make about the way that Sayin handled the situation?
I thought from an offensive line standpoint, they really took care of him in the passing game. Remember, he had 3 drops. 2 of them by the best player in college football.
Yes.
On some third down situations.
Max Clare dropped 1 too. Yep.
And you can make the argument that he shouldn't have gone to Clare. He should have gone to Smith on that one when you look back at the tape. But just his confidence and his ability to run this offense, we all know. It's well documented how tough it is to be the quarterback at Ohio State, let alone starting in your first game, let alone playing against the number 1 team considered in the country at that particular time and the defense that they had. But he was calm. He really was, and he was able to make plays. He was able to push the ball down the field when they asked him to. And for this to be his first game, and I get it, he's at home, but still, it's his first game as a true starter. And I thought what he was able to do was outstanding. So this is what I say, right? We talk about them offensively. There's a lot of room to grow. We talk about the running game. Offensive line can be better of being able to push the defensive front. But it goes back to defense and what they were able to do there, because that defense is going to travel anywhere you want, right? And now, not only that, Reverend, we talk all the time, like in special teams. Oh, you run a fake here, you run a fake here. Now we've given teams something that they have to study for the next couple of weeks. Can you imagine what the offenses are going to have to look at for the next couple of weeks? Specifically, some teams that are down there that are really talented, they're going to have to really put some more effort in to what they're doing. Listen, Ohio State will be able to just run out and play a base defense next week and be able to take care of business. And they'll be able to do that. That's no fault of their own. But there's so much stuff on tape that now that their opponents have to try to get prepared for that it just added more time to preparation on offense. So they've already off to a great start. And I think that's the great part about playing this type of game so early in the season. Now teams really are going to have to look at a lot of different things to get prepared for them defensively.
And now you got to win, and you get 2 games against lesser opponents, frankly, coming up here with Grambling on the Big Ten Network this week, and then Ohio University the following week, where you get to work out some of the kinks offensively. And there were some kinks, and that's to be expected with the personnel that you lost. I want to talk, before we get off of Ohio State, just about Ryan Day and how amazing, 6 straight wins against top 5 teams. And I get it. I get that they lost to Michigan last year. I get they lost to Oregon. Oregon wasn't in the top 5 at that time. They ended up obviously being number 1 for much of the year. They got the revenge in that game on the Rose Bowl. But to do what he has done, I mean, this guy is 17-8 against top 10 opponents at Ohio State. 17-8 against the best in the country. We're just at a point. He's got a national championship. I mean, he is inarguably, if not the very best coach in the game, in the top 2 or 3. Like, is Kirby Smart in that discussion? Maybe Dabo. But I mean, he is absolutely elite.
And nowhere near given the credit for,
I know
for what he's able to do.
I know. That's what drives me crazy.
But you know what? He's the type of person that I don't think needs the credit. You know, it's been tumultuous. Going through last year was difficult.
No
Not
doubt.
only for
Very
him,
hard on
but
his family.
For his family, it's well documented. But he has a way about him. He goes about doing things his way. It's, you know, the way he handles his team, the way he goes out and gets his guys prepared. Listen, anybody in the country would take that record, right?
Yeah.
Anyone in the country. And he does a really good job of, obviously recruiting is a big part of it. Obviously development is a big part of it, and that's what you have to do. The expectation has to be clear. When you come to Ohio State, this is what we're interested in doing. And he's getting guys to sit there and really conform to it, right? Because these guys all have ego. They're all some of the best players that have played at the high school game, and some of them are the best players right now playing at the college game. But they understand how to lead, they understand what's expected of them, and they understand what Ryan Day wants them to do. And they're able to go out and get that done. And they have an unbelievable coaching staff, and they've continued to get better in that realm as well. We've talked a lot. I know Coach has really been focused on just how they are coaching the offensive line now. They have multiple assistants that are helping out in that area. And I truly believe that that's going to pay dividends. And that's not to take away from what they did last year, but it's evolving with the game. Is there a way for us to get better? Absolutely. We can have 3 or 4 guys coaching our offensive line instead of 1 or 2, continuing to push the envelope to get better. And when they go out and play the way they did, and listen, it's still the beginning of the year, and we know there are always struggles from an offensive standpoint early in the season, except for if we're talking about Oregon. But that's a different discussion. Right, that'll be a different discussion. Yeah. But I just like the way this team, I love the way Ryan Day handles himself and goes out and handles his business each and every week. It's different. It truly is different when you look at the way he coaches. If we get an opportunity to see that, than some of the other great coaches that we've had the chance to be around and watch. But it works. He gets it done.
Well, I'll say he's 71-10.
I mean,
again, it's Walter Camp, who for all intents and purposes invented the game. I mean, he came up with most of the rules, and Newt Rockne, and then Ryan Day, of coaches who have coached more than 75 games in the history of college football.
So we're arguing 3, at least maybe 3 of those losses. We're mad at him. Yeah. People were upset about 3, so he should only lost 7 games. Oh boy, really? Tell me seriously? 10 losses.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Again, Grambling this week here on the Big Ten Network. Let's move on. There were certainly plenty of other Big Ten storylines to talk about. How about number 2 Penn State? They had no problem with Nevada. The 32nd straight win against unranked opponents. Really nice day for Drew Aller, completing nearly 85% of his passes, tying for the highest completion percentage of his career. Nittany Lions scored on their first 9 offensive drives, although they did have to settle for some field goals, just 4 touchdowns and 7 trips into the red zone. This was an overmatched opponent in Nevada. This is what they were supposed to do. What do you make of it all?
They're on schedule, right? They're doing the things that they need to do to get ready for a matchup that they're going to have on a whiteout in Penn State, getting ready for that particular matchup against Oregon, right? They're doing all the things that they need to. Defensively, they went out and controlled the game, which you would expect them to do. It's not, okay, well, they're getting away, your opponent is starting to gain some momentum. No, they did an unbelievable job. Their best player on the defensive side, probably he's going to make an argument for the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten, and Dennis Sutton played unbelievable. Just the way he plays the game, the way he's grown. So they're doing all the things they need to do. Listen, Drew Aller is still, to me, one of my favorite quarterbacks, and has a chance to be one of the best quarterbacks in the first quarterback taken in the draft. He just has to continue to grow in the bigger games. Those are where people still have question marks about his game. But I believe that they're doing all the things they need to right now. They're playing well defensively, offensively, special teams. And the big thing, listen, you can't forget about this. We still may not know as much as we want to know about the receiving core, but we're watching them produce.
I mean, at least, I said this on the final drive. I mean, 16 receptions, 194 yards for the wide receivers. You think about the last time we saw Penn State on the field, it was against Notre Dame, and the wide receivers, quite famously, had 0 catches.
Which is a problem.
There's a different, it is. It's a very low number. Now, again, it's different. I get it. Like, that was Notre Dame in the college football playoff, a team that obviously made it to the championship game by beating Penn State and gave Ohio State a decent game as well. This is Nevada. It's very different. But they upgraded the roster. They addressed the issues. We saw a number of the players who they added in the offseason, Kyron Hudson, Trevor Pena, these guys coming up big and making important catches for them. So, to me, again, we'll see when they play the absolute elite opponents, but you have to feel good there. The weird thing to me was they didn't have a run longer than 13 yards.
Right.
With two of the best backs in the country, with two of the top three in terms of active rushing yards in America. How surprised were you by that?
I'm surprised that they didn't control the game a lot more in that fashion, but I think that'll come. It's no different. We talk about offenses trying to gel and get to a point where now all of a sudden they're tired. They've been practicing against their own for so long. Now they have this opportunity to go out and play against an opponent, and it wasn't clicking at that particular moment. There's no reason for concern, not yet, but I believe that this run game will continue to pick up. Talking with our analysts that have gone out there and watched them, they will tell you that this is the best offensive line they've seen in Penn State in the 19 years we've been covering.
Right.
So that I take a lot of credence in that. I think there's no reason for concern just yet. They have to continue to get better, and they will when you look at what they have in that backfield. The other thing that's important when you talk about just running the football, these are running backs that are going to get the ball out in the vertical passing game, which is going to be a problem for a lot of teams. They really caused some problems last year, so I expect that part of the game to grow as well.
All right, so a good chance that those two teams in Ohio State and Penn State will be ranked 1 and 2 when the poll comes out tomorrow. Obviously, we have the Monday game, so that precludes the poll from coming out today as it normally does. And oh, by the way, they are both on our airwaves on Saturday. I already mentioned that you can see Ohio State. You look at the big board. We got the Nittany Lions and Florida International at noon Eastern, Minnesota and Northwestern State at that time as well. After that, it's the Buckeyes and Grambling. Evening window includes both Nebraska and Purdue, and then Washington playing the nightcap for the second straight week, hosting UC Davis, all Saturday on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Back on Big Ten today, Oregon, lots of new faces on the roster, but a similar result. The 7th-ranked Ducks pounding a Montana State team that played for the FCS national title last year, 59-13. Oregon winning its 16th straight game at Autzen, scored on every possession but the final one of the game when they took a knee. They showcased their depth. Howard, 12 different players had a carry, 10 caught a pass. I don't want to make too much out of beating Montana State, except to say that last year they played Idaho, who's also a good FCS team, and that game was nip and tuck. I mean, it went absolutely down to the wire. Montana State played for the national championship in FCS last year and was the number 2 ranked team. I mean, this was an absolute obliteration. And again, we did see just how much talent is on this Oregon roster.
And the importance of not only us seeing that talent, it's also Oregon's football team being able to recognize that the number 2 guy, the 2s can step up and contribute. The 3s can step up and contribute. When you talk about having to rely upon a lot of players to make plays, this is the type of the depth that you're going to need as you start to make a run for the playoffs. This is just really what it is. So we got an opportunity to see that. And Dante Moore stepping up at the quarterback spot. His first start, I thought he was outstanding and did everything that he needed to do. This is an explosive team. There's been no question about that. We've also spent a lot of time last year, and particularly in this particular game, about the trenches. Everyone talked about, hey, this team's got to be better. If you want to be able to be prepared and compete for championships, you've got to have the people in the trenches to get that done. I don't think they get even near the credit that they deserve from an offense and defensive line perspective.
We got a chance to see Isaiah World, who is the highest-ranked offensive lineman in the portal. Pregnon got hurt in this game. I do think that's one concern. It'll be interesting to see what Dan Lanning says about that. I don't want to make too big a deal out of this, but Mekhi Hughes, who had an unbelievable season at Tulane last year and was probably considered the top running back in the portal, or certainly among them, had 1 carry in this game. So I'll be interested to see, obviously, what's the story with Pregnon and then what Dan Lanning has to say about Hughes. But, man, they just have so many guys who can beat you. They go over 500 yards of offense for the 20th time in 42 games under Dan Lanning, and they have a more challenging game coming up this week. Oklahoma State, I know, hasn't been a great last couple of years for the Cowboys, but still, I mean, it's a power conference team coming in, and you should have a pretty good barometer of where you stand.
Yeah, and the way they played, right? To me, you go back to that, so you gain that confidence that you're going to go out and really handle the competition no matter who it is. This is just another step for them, and if they're as good as we think they are, this is another game that they should be able to handle. And I would say this, the elite teams that are out there in college football right now, if we go back to this past weekend, we're used to seeing dominant performances, right? We're used to seeing, high-scoring games. That wasn't necessarily the case this past weekend with some of the big matchups. I think it could be the case again this week, but if Oregon is able to go out and just thrash these guys, we're starting to really get a lot of insight to what this team has. The talent level is unbelievable. We know that they're coached really well, and the quarterback while he continues to get better. Again, we talk about dangerous teams that are out there that are taking care of business and doing what they need to. This is just another step for Oregon.
And we talked about Ryan Day, 71-10. How about Dan Lanning? He's 36-6. So that's a 72-12 pace. So he's not too far behind.
Too many slackers in this league.
Exactly.
Really, what are they doing?
He is an awfully good coach as well, as is Curt Cignetti. Of course, his team was in the playoff last year, as were the Ducks. Indiana, a far less convincing debut, frankly. They beat Old Dominion 27-14. They went over 500 yards of offense, though, for the sixth time in 14 games under Cignetti. The tagline here, though, is never satisfied, and their coach seemed to echo that sentiment.
I guarantee you, everybody in this organization realizes that, we didn't play as well as we want to. And that's just a flat-out fact. Near the end of the second quarter, where we could have stuck a fork in them and really jumped on them, and we couldn't capitalize offensively. The mistakes, intercept a pass and get a penalty, a lot of things like that my teams in the past haven't done.
Cignetti now 31-6 at the FBS level as a head coach. He's well over 100 games, over 500 overall as a head coach. And the reason that you are that successful, Howard, is details. And he talks so much about being process-driven and all of that. Very first play from scrimmage, they give up a 75-yard touchdown. They gave up another run of 78 yards, I believe. So it's basically two plays, 153 yards on two plays. Other than that, they were pretty good. They moved the ball very well themselves. Again, over 300 rushing yards, over 500 total yards, but got bogged down in the red zone.
Got to be able to finish in the red zone.
Yeah, so kind of big picture takeaways here.
You've got to be able, and he talked about it, you've got to be able to execute. We'll go back to the red zone now and handle that. You need to score touchdowns. You can't get in that situation and settle for field goals or not be able to score at all. I thought the first play was brilliant when you look at Old Dominion and what they were able to do. They faked everybody out, the team, the camera people, and everyone. Really well-designed play to take advantage of that aggression of that defense. But they'll get this fixed. There's no question about that. We've both spent enough time around Coach Sig to know that they're going to get this figured out. And again, they won the game. Not the way we're used to seeing them win, the way they dominated their opponents last year for most of the season, but they'll get it fixed. This is a different year, different team, so he's got to find the buttons, and I'm sure he has, and he needs to press to make sure that they're paying attention to the details.
Yeah, I mean, you think about last year, they did not trail in a game until 8 games into the season. They trailed this year 11 seconds in. I mean, they went 8 games without trailing last year. You'd think of just how dominant they were. It was really incredible. Last year, right, it was the first time they'd ever won double-digit games. Not only they win a double-digit number of games, 10 of their 11 wins came by double digits.
Yeah, and I think what'll be interesting, and this happens, and coaches and players will tell you, every team is going to be different. You need to figure out what this team and the identity of this team is going to be overall, but there's no reason for concern here, none at all.
And I will say this, the schedule on paper looked very easy in the non-conference, and it is what it is. Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. Kennesaw State gave Wake Forest a pretty good game this weekend. I know Wake Forest is rebuilding and whatnot, but I mean, it's a power conference team, so you don't necessarily want to take them lightly, and I'm sure Cignetti will have some choice words.
Yes, he will. He'll get them ready.
Guys. Yes, he had some choice words in the news conference, so I assume he will do the same. We are focusing mainly, almost exclusively, on the teams that played Saturday. on this show. So there were obviously 4 games Thursday, 2 games Friday. There is one team that played Friday that we want to talk about, and that's Illinois. And really it's because Illinois has one of the marquee games this week in the Big Ten, going down to Durham, taking on what's a really good Duke team. Our old friend Manny Diaz doing a very good job there. So with an eye on facing the Blue Devils, just give me a sense, a rout of Western Illinois. Didn't play great at the outset and then really kind of blew them out from there. But what do you think of Illinois as they head into their biggest non-conference?
Well, you're talking about having a veteran quarterback that's now all of a sudden is going on the road with a chance to continue to chase the championship. And I think that gives you a great opportunity there. The run game, I think, will be outstanding. But when they make plays in the special teams, as they did in this game, you know, again, we talked about having teams being concerned. When you can score or you can block a punt in special teams, that changes the momentum of the game. So when you can go play great special teams, that's going to be a big part of it. Talk about the passing games. The guys they've gone out to the portal to be able to help out this offense, I thought has been really one of the big keys for them. But again, it's about going out and handling your business. They were able to do that. This is going to be a monumental challenge this week. It is Duke, and you mentioned Manny Diaz. This is a well-coached team, so they definitely have to be dialed in when they travel.
You talk about the portal, Justin Bowick, really good, 2 touchdown catches. How about Hank Beatty, though? Hank Beatty isn't a portal guy. Hank Beatty's been there the whole time, and he broke Red Grange's
Mr. Red Grange
102-year-old school single-game punt return yardage record. Now, I'm sitting with someone who once broke one of Red Grange's records for most single-game touchdowns for the Fighting Illini. You met Red Grange before he passed away. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than Red Grange.
You just made me feel really old.
Dave. Yes.
But I would tell you this. I think, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, because there's a lot of questions about, did they do enough? Are the wide receivers going to be good enough to replace what they lost? And this was a fairly resounding answer.
I'll say this. They didn't know what they had last year either, from a fan standpoint of what the type of production that they were going to get out of the wide receiver position. That's another group that is well coached down there. They're going to figure it out and make things happen. And again, you have a veteran quarterback, and the running game is going to be enough for them. They can put it together, this offensive line, and be able to control the line of scrimmage and be able for them to throw the ball vertically down the field. But this is the wide receiver group is going to be a group that's going to continue. We're going to find out more about this group as the year continues to move on.
5 straight wins back to last year. If they can get number 6, man, the fever pitch that they will have in Champaign. The number 1 recruit in the nation looked the part in his Michigan debut. Bryce Underwood completing 68% of his passes, 251 yards and a touchdown in a 17-point win over New Mexico. The Wolverines will face Oklahoma in Norman on Saturday, and for the first half, they will do it without star linebacker Jayshon Barham. Barham got tossed for targeting in the second half of that win over the Lobos, so that means you have to sit for the first half. Now, Michigan did appeal that suspension, and Sharon Moore just a little while ago at his news conference saying that the suspension had been upheld. Here's what Moore had to say about it.
Literally just heard about it. So, it was upheld, and we don't agree with it. Tony doesn't agree with it. AJ doesn't agree with it. It's a rule we have to get changed and we have to look at in college football just for the general the game, the toughness of the game and how you want to teach tackling and how you want to teach guys that are 6'3" tackling a guy that's 5'8". He lowers his head and it might be even worse. He try to duck it to the side, the guy spins, he misses. So there's a way that we have to teach guys how to tackle and what to do. And there was a clear shot early in the game where he had a clear shot and he sawed right through the guy and avoided. He took one step and that's what happened. So that was the ruling, and we'll continue to work and fight for the game, but completely disagree with it, as did Tony and AJ with the Big Ten. So, but we got to move on, So we got the first half without him, and those guys will step up.
Just to clarify names there, Tony obviously is Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten. AJ is AJ Eads, who works in the conference office. You saw the play. I mean, I think Sharon makes a really compelling case of, part of the issue is contact,
Yes.
forcible contact above the shoulders, but he's much taller than the quarterback. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in.
It is one of the things that as this rule has continued to try to evolve, you have to be able to have some common sense part of the rules. I understand it's got to be black and white, and you want it to be the letter of the law. And when you look at it from the letter of the law, yes, it's right. But it was not. It doesn't fit the situation because of the height difference. So someone should be able to have some leeway here. But then what does that open up? Now that opens up the leeway for other plays.
Right.
But they just have to continue to get this rule worked so that it actually fits everyone, because it's unfortunate that he's not going to be able to be out there for the first half. They'll figure it out. But when we're talking about this rule, they just got to have a way to have some common sense and have the ability to make some adjustments or move away from some of these things when it doesn't fit this necessary situation.
So I'm with you. It's a challenging spot when it's upheld on the field or when a call is made on the field to then go back and relitigate it for exactly the reasons you talk about. Then you just get into so much relitigation. But again, there is frustration.
And I get
Sharon
it.
Moore tells it, not
Should
just
be.
from Michigan's side, but from the Big Ten Conference office as well. So you go into Oklahoma without one of your best defensive players, at least for a half. You also go in with a markedly better offense than you had a season ago, more than 450 yards of total offense, which is more than they had in any game last season. Chip Lindsey making an impact early on here. Bryce Underwood looked really good, looked in command.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I really loved what they did with him and what they asked him to do. Getting him on the move and seeing some of the things, his ability to make throws while on the move, I thought was outstanding. Being able to get the running game going is a big part of that, so you don't have so much pressure. But he looks calm and cool and collected when you start talking about a young quarterback having his first start with the expectations that are on top of him. But this is an offense that looks remarkably better already because you can push the ball down the field, and he's going to give you those opportunities to make some of these plays. And I thought they dialed up some route combinations that really took advantage of their opponent, and they were able to make a lot of plays with it.
I know everyone's talking about Underwood, and I get it. It's the quarterback position. It's the most important position, not just in football, but probably in all of sports. And yet, how about Justice Haynes? Just to put what he did in perspective, he had 2 runs over 50 yards, Howard. That equaled the total for Michigan all of last season.
Yeah.
You can get more explosive in the run game. He's a transfer from Alabama. That opens things up. That makes it so much easier for Underwood.
Yeah, having a chance to talk with Tony Alford, I know you had the same
Yes.
chance to talk while we were there this summer. They were going through some drills, and I was really impressed. Just handoff drills, and it was only about 5 or 6 yards. But his short area quickness, his ability to get up to full speed within a couple of steps makes him a very, very dangerous player. He has the ability to make the jump cuts. So it forced me while I'm sitting there in practice, and I'm saying, could this be the best backfield in not only the Big Ten, but one of the best backfields in college football? I think they have a chance to make an argument. We have some really good backfields.
So Crew in State College will have something to say about that.
Without a doubt, but you talk about the quickness of this group, what they're going to be able to do, they're going to have a chance to put up some big numbers this year.
Really encouraging. Yeah,
Yes.
they have to feel good, not just Haynes, but also Jordan Marshall, to your point. That's a really
1-2 punch is
talented
pretty good.
backfield. So we talk about Underwood. How about another freshman quarterback who made an impressive debut? Speaking of Malik Washington at Maryland and making fans as well, young and old, mostly young, it turns out. Great stuff there. What a debut against FAU. Local product, thrown for 258 yards, 3 touchdowns as the Terps won it 39-7.
Making friends for the program.
Yeah, he is. And how about the defense? 6 interceptions in the game. They had 9 all of last year. They had 6 in this game.
Which is pretty good. We go back to the quarterback really quickly, though. Having a guy that can make the plays that he can, I mean, you have to be really encouraged as a Maryland fan. He really looked in command, and they asked him to throw this thing around 43 times. I don't know that they went into the game wanting to throw 43, but he threw it 43 and looked really good. And talk about the playmakers on the defensive side. If they can keep this rolling, and I say rolling, I mean more so into conference play.
This has been the stumbling block.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's been the issue. But to have a guy under center, we all know how important it is to have a quarterback that can make plays for you. We've now seen two teams right now that have really high-level quarterbacks that I think could be elite and lead their programs to something special.
Huge for Mike Locksley to be able to point to him and say, this is a guy we're going to build around. Do you want to come and be a part of it? 16 straight non-conference wins, to your point, for Maryland. That includes bowl games. That's the longest streak in the country. Let's run through a couple other ones. USC, 73 points, which is their most since 1930, and that's saying something. I mean, since 1930, really I think we can all agree USC's had some pretty good football teams.
Good football teams, right?
They really have. I don't want to read too much into it. I get it's Missouri State is the first game they've ever played as an FBS team, but still, wow, especially when you consider the way that struggled is the wrong word for USC's offense, but it was not a Lincoln Riley caliber offense. They were probably better, arguably, on defense and offense a year ago. Man, they looked the part in this. I mean, they had no issues.
Right, they went out and did what they were supposed to. Didn't stumble. Really were in control of this game when it kicked off. And seeing some of their players step up and make plays. The quarterback did an outstanding job in this one as well. It's about really going out and dominating. You kill a gnat with a sledgehammer. That's exactly what they did in this situation, and that's what you want to be able to see. Again, this is something about confidence when you play these kind of games. Seeing a lot of players get opportunities out there to go out and succeed. So now that they have something to point to and their teammates say, yeah, he can do it. We saw it in the first game. You start to build that confidence, and this is a good thing for USC.
To your point, 14 different players catching passes. The running backs, Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders, look really good. There's a ton of talent on that team. Let's focus on Washington. They got a little bit better game from Colorado State. I mean, this game was even in the second half, and then Washington did a nice job pulling away. We saw some of their superstars showing up big. Jonah Coleman was great. Damon Williams. What did you take from watching the Huskies?
You know, it's interesting, particularly when you start to play these non-conference games. You start to say, well, they should have gone out and dominated them. But this is a Colorado State team that's well coached, a really good football team. And some teams need to be pushed. And Washington is one of those teams that needed to be pushed. Their first time, their starter at quarterback, a young guy, oh my goodness. He is going to truly be special along with Jonah Coleman, that wide receiver group. They were able to do some really nice things and really, again, building confidence in your team. They were taken to the brink. They had to come up with some big plays to win this football game. And that's what you need to do at times, right? You need to find out a little bit more about your team. And I think this Washington team is going to give a lot of people some issues come Big Ten play.
No doubt. Got into the red zone and scored touchdowns, which was an issue last year. The offensive line played really well. That was a concern a season ago. So a lot to feel good about. And guess what? We get to see him again in the late game on Saturday against UC
when
Davis.
When you say late, what time?
Well, it's late, Howard. We'll be enjoying our midnight coffee together.
Midnight coffee.
Midnight coffee
with the Huskies.
Yeah, that's my new rock band name, Midnight Coffee. Back to football, and Kirk Ferentz on the precipice of history after Iowa beat Albany 34-7. 205th win as a Big Ten head coach for Ferentz, tying Woody Hayes for the most in conference history. He can get the record all to himself this weekend, but it will not be easy. They are taking on rival Iowa State in Ames. Amazing career accomplishments here for Kirk Ferentz. There was a lot of excitement around Mark Gronowski in the past game. The truth of the matter is it wasn't great, under 50 yards. He was battling cramps, but man, did they run the ball well.
They ran it well, and this is what we've grown accustomed to, right? Struggles offensively at the quarterback position, but they're able to run the football. Difference is, we talked about this on Saturday night, the offensive line hasn't been where they've been in previous years. Now it seems like they're getting back to some of the teams that we really were excited about with an offensive line, really a good group up front, and they took advantage of that on the ground.
9th time in the last 14 games they've gone over 200 yards rushing, and you thought with Caleb Johnson moving on, maybe they'd take a step back there. Man, Xavier Williams was an absolute revelation. And Kirk Ferentz talked about Gronowski afterwards and said maybe he was pressing a little bit, and he's a really good quarterback, and they're confident that will come around. So let's see. There's a lot of focus on him, a lot of pressure. You can understand that, no doubt. And again, battling the cramps as well. That had to have been a factor. But Iowa 1-0 heading into that huge game against a very good Iowa State team. We saw them over in Dublin play exceptionally well. Hey, I want to talk about Purdue.
Yes, let's talk about that.
31-0, a shutout win over Ball State. You got a new head coach. taking over a program that had a dreadful year last year. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It was terrible. They lost their last 11 games. They had the 2 worst losses, most lopsided losses in school history. And Barry Odom comes in. First game, his team pitches a shutout.
Outstanding. I thought he had a really good coaching staff that he has put together when I had a chance to see him in the spring and then again in this summer, and just having them have an opportunity to watch them practice and play. Yes, they went out and did all the things that they needed to and were supposed to. This is a team that needed a win like this, really to build the confidence, to really that excitement, and also the fan base needed to see this as well. Because I'd say this Purdue fan base has done an amazing job over the last couple of years building to this point and then having to go through some lean times, and now to still be excited about your program is outstanding. And I know that's one of the things the administration wanted to make sure they were able to hold on to, and they gave them all that they could be excited about. And sure, it's the opponent, but at the end of the day, they went out and took care of their business.
We've actually marveled in recent years of how full Ross A has been, given the circumstances of how non-competitive the team was over the last couple of years. I mentioned the stat on Saturday. I love it. They scored 13 first-quarter points all of last year combined, the entire season. And still, they got 14.
There you go.
On Saturday, so they outscored their entire season of first quarters in one fell swoop. They will take on SIU coming up this weekend, a game you can see here on the Big Ten Network. 18 games in the books, 18 more coming your way in week 2. Another look at the big board, a great overview of what we've got, starting with 2 games here on the Big Ten Network Friday night, Northwestern and Maryland, both in action. 16 games Saturday, highlighted by a few we've touched on: Cy-Hawk battle in Ames, Illinois Duke, Michigan Oklahoma, among the many intriguing battles. I do want to focus in on the 2 teams that lost on Saturday. Howard, I don't think either was a huge surprise. Maybe the way in which they lost, I don't know if it's surprising or just disappointing. I mean, UCLA, like, their run defense last year was fabulous. And they got absolutely run over by Utah.
You talk about a team in Utah that gained them 492 yards to 220. I mean, they really control the game. And then you say, okay, well, what about offensively with UCLA? And you say, wait a minute, well, they couldn't get on the field. You talk about, what was it, 15 of 17 in 3rd and 4th down conversions? They've got some things they got to figure out on the defensive side of the football. I think they're going to be able to move the ball offensively, but if they can't get the ball, it's going to be a big problem for them.
Well, wasn't a great day for Nico Iamaleava, but again, I'm with you 100%. The bigger issue, no doubt, was the defense. The bigger issue for Northwestern, it'd be hard to say. They didn't really play well on either side of the ball. They just got dominated at the line of scrimmage by Tulane. And again, let's say Tulane is the winningest non-power conference team in the country over the last 3 years. They're favored statistically in a lot of areas you see to make the college football playoff. I get all that. But Northwestern got pushed around by them, and then the turnovers are just unconscionable.
You talk about going on the road, and you're still going to turn the ball over. I don't care who you're playing. It's going to be a tough one to try to win because those turnovers are really going to hurt your football team. So to me, they've got to be able to address that part of it. Again, it's if you can't control the football and be able to hang on to it, as they say, the ball is the program, well, it's the game too. So you better make sure you're taking care of your business on that side.
Really surprising, because when you look at Preston Stone's history, he is not a guy who turns the ball over a lot. He had 8 interceptions in his entire career coming in, and he's a full year starting quarterback for a good SMU team.
He did not look comfortable at all. The ball was coming out really quickly, wasn't able to follow through a lot of it. They've got to get some things figured out.
And they got to figure out a way to get the receivers open.
No doubt.
Which is a problem. And then stop the run. They were not able to do that. We will see if they are able to do it this week, and we'll start previewing some of those big games. Jake Butt and Yogi Roth join me tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day.